You are in for a real treat. This episode was originally recorded for my other podcast, but for you, it's been upgraded and transformed, and now you have the Ask the Pro show. So everything mentioned in this episode will now be found on chrisdouffet.com, plus so much more, as I've designed the Ask the Pro podcast and chrisdouffet.com to give you exactly what you need to grow your business success and for you to have the money, the freedom, and the happiness you want, making a bigger and better impact to the world unselfishly. So now it's time to delve straight into this episode, and I want you to lap up and enjoy every single second of it. Mr. Jordan Harbinger, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast. I've got a bit of a bromance going on with you, a bit of a bro crush. So I'm really selfishly wanted to get you on to be able to help share what you're doing with the art of charm and you yourself with everything that you kind of dive into. I've got a lot planned for us to go into this interview. And before we get there, I just want to say I'm really thankful for you taking the time, Jordan.
Yeah, my pleasure, man. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
All right. So in a nutshell, Jordan, just before we start diving into these questions, for the listener that doesn't know who you are you, Jordan, and why are you so phenomenal?
Yeah, I am the host of the Art of Charm podcast, and we have been rocking and rolling here at the Art of Charm in studio for 9 years. So it's one of the first podcasts, if you can say one of the first 1,000 counts as one of the first, and it's definitely one of the first that was around back then. It's still going, that's for sure. So here we are. After 9 years. And we teach live programs in LA where people come from all over the world to learn networking, relationship development, and we teach networking, persuasion, influence, those types of skills.
This is something I really want to get in with you because I feel like, especially when you say networking, sometimes it can be a really dirty word, but right. Definitely after stalking you out, creeping you out and doing a lot of listening into the art of charm and what you do as well, it's not a dirty word at all. It's really about giving value and connecting with people genuinely. And I think so many people, when they say networking, it's kind of like walking out an event with kind of like a handful of business cards and not knowing what to do with it. To you, what does networking really mean?
It's all about generating valuable connections that are win-win. And I know that sounds like a million cliches strung together, so I'm conscious of that. But what we do when we're talking about networking is we're talking about relationship development, in that you're giving generously to other people as much as possible. So the difference between networking and relationship development, Art of Charm style, is that when we're talking about relationship development, we're talking about giving value, and we'll actually define what that is and show people how to do that in very specific ways. And one of the chief ways to do that is to constantly be giving generously without expecting anything in return. So the way that the reason networking seems dirty is because when people think of networking, they're thinking, what's in it for me? Or, other people are networking, they're going to be asking me for something. Hey, do you need a financial manager? All that stuff, right? It's pretty cliche. That's why people hate networking events, because you show up and it's a bunch of people asking you for stuff. Nobody wants that. So that's not how high level, high functioning, successful people, quote unquote, network and build relationships. That's not how it works at all. It's all about figuring out how you can help other people and then making that happen. So networking for somebody who's been through the Art of Charm is developing a huge Rolodex of people that you are friendly with or that you know of, and hooking them up with each other constantly so that they can help each other achieve their goals. And that is so much more beneficial because everybody involved can actually benefit from that, as opposed to you asking other people for things. And the reason that that's beneficial is because when you continually help other people, the law of reciprocity will show that they'll eventually help you. You don't have to ask them for anything. And, frankly, it will come back in, even if people don't do things for you directly, it'll come back in that everybody likes you. I mean, and that alone is worthwhile, because then if you ever do need anything, even if people see a way they can help you without you asking, they will. And then suddenly amazing things are happening to you all the time without you asking, which is incredible.
I think this is really great because so many people go about things and they're trying to count, well, I did this for you. Like now it's time for you to do this for me. And let's look at maybe the online marketing world is you kind of have the whole affiliate thing. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, well, if I sell your stuff, you should sell my stuff. And it's like, well, I don't want to get into that world because what if I don't like your stuff? And what if we can just go about this in a normal way? And a lot of people kind of like, let's just not be a douchebag at the end of the day, and things can be a lot easier for everybody. And I think it's beautiful you bring up, like, you should go about this not trying to get something out of it, because if you just have the confidence in saying like, something good will come back of this, I don't know what, I don't know when, but it will happen at the end of the day.
Yeah, and that's the better way to do it, frankly. And you need to only look at successful people and see how they manage relationships. And people try to fake this, and that's a really big pitfall. They try to fake it in that they'll do, here's a real example that happened earlier this week. Somebody emailed me and was like, hey, I'd love to have you on my show. And you know the drill. You did the same thing. I said, okay, here's my scheduler. It's going to take a few months because I I'm booked up. I don't devote a lot of time to doing other people's media. I got to create stuff of my own.
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, no problem. That's totally cool. Looking forward to it. Also, I'd love to be on your show. And I was like, whoa, okay, I appreciate that as a compliment, but I don't see what you do as a fit. I can't remember what he did. It was like so far out of left field. It made sense. Our charm. And then I was like, great, send any pitch that you want to my producer, whose job it is to vet potential guests.
Yeah.
And just FYI, there's no guarantee. I don't really see this as a fit. So if you no longer are interested in having me on your show, then let me know that too. And a lot of people, when they hear that, they're like, no, it's totally cool. I was just throwing my name in the hat, which is fine. Like, I get that. Hustle. It's something that I do too. But this guy wrote back and said, yeah, it's kind of more of a tit for tat thing. I mean, I don't see what helping you wouldn't help me. And I was like, oh, I get it. And I was like, never mind, I'm going to pass on this, because he didn't see there was a benefit for me, to his audience, from me coming on his show. He only saw the benefit of me talking to his audience. And I don't come on and sell things. So the benefit for me is I get to talk to your audience, which is an honor. I appreciate the trust, but it's not really going to quote unquote convert, right? For me, most likely. Yeah. So I do it to help, and I do it because it's fun. But if you don't want me on, unless I'm going to have you on my show, which, not to sound like an a-hole, was about 100 times larger than his, it's not really a fair value exchange, and I don't want a value exchange in that way. So I said
that is a perfect example.
Yeah. And what's funny is this guy, nobody knows who he is. And there's a reason that he's not at all of the high profile events. There's a reason he's not in all of our our little hidden groups and going to all of our little parties. And so there's a reason that happens, or that he's not there. And it may be because he's new, but there's a better chance that it's because, I'm not going to ever vouch for that guy. That's never going to happen, at least based on this interaction. And I guarantee you that he's done that with a lot of other people. And only people that are so desperate for cross promotion that they'll agree to that are going to be in your circle. That's terrible. That's a really bad way to filter, because if the only people who are going to do business with you are people that don't have a choice, well, you're really racing to
stuck.
Yeah.
Okay, you kind of brought up something that was really good, and I find a lot of people kind of asking this as well, is if people want to get in a certain, let's call it a clique, do you know what I mean? Like your little inner circle, how should they start going about this? Because I feel like some people need a really nice dose of reality and a good slap in the face to this, because you have people like this kind of being like, well, I do this for you and let me come on your show. And it's like, there's just no reflection of any actual value being exchanged there.
Yeah. Can you repeat the actual question? I'm not sure if that was a question or a statement.
How can someone get into a clique or start building relationships into another circle of influence?
Sure. I mean, this is going to be a shorter answer to that, because we've done entire shows on this topic.
If there's a certain episode you'd love to direct people towards, I would love to do that as well.
Sure. I'll do it with the Selena Sue on my show episode. Gosh, I don't even know. I can send you
I'll find out, and I'll put in the show notes and links for people to get straight over.
Yeah. I'll throw it in with the caveat that Selena and I were in a ranty mood because we've been talking before the show. So I complain a lot during that episode, and it's not representative of the rest of the AFC episodes, but it's about reaching up to influencers. Another show that I've done with Dory Clark talks about this as well. So there's actually quite a few episodes on Art of Charm about reaching up to influencers. And the general way that it works is you have to realize that if you're only focusing upward, you're going to run into the problem of the fact that your peers won't know who you are, which is actually more of a problem than people think, because those are the people that you actually have to work with more. So you don't want to focus on just quote unquote climbing the ladder.
Yeah.
It'll actually limit your ability to help people above a couple rungs above you if you don't network with your peers and you don't create relationship with your peers. Further, you need to also quote unquote network down, which means help other people that have no way that they are going to necessarily help you for reasons that I just mentioned a few minutes ago, in terms of not expecting anything in return and thereby actually getting it. Now, the way that we do this is you really have to do all of the work. And the way that the reason, well, let me step back. What I mean by do all of the work is this. I get these emails a lot, so I'm going to give real examples. I might get an email that says, "Hey, Jordan, you know what you should do? You need to update your Android app." And I go, "Cool, noted, delete, archive." And then I'll get another email that's like, "Hey, I noticed your Android app is a bit slow and old, and here's where it failed, and it crashed when I did this. And, it would be really cool is if you did this. I feel like this would be a good use case. Hopefully that helps." That's much more helpful. The most helpful, though, is, "Hey, Jordan, I feel like your Android app needs an update. I really like your show. I would be willing to create this for you. Here's what I had in mind in terms of changes to your current existing design. It fixes these problems. It fixes these problems. It fixes these problems. Let me know if this is something you're interested in. This is what it's going to cost for me to hire the developer, or I'll do it for free better. And what I get out of that is I get to put my logo and branding on your app as the person who made it. Here's what it'll look like." That's the best, because then I just reply yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
That I can do. What I'm not going to do is what I get a lot, which is, "Hey, Jordan, I have some great ideas for your business. Let me know when you're free to jump on the phone." Guess what? I'm never free to jump on the phone when somebody asks me that.
Yeah.
The reason is because if they were so good at whatever it is that they do,
you're not searching out for it.
They're not searching out clients, first of all. And if they are, they're going, "Oh, I really want to work with Jordan at The Art of Charm. Who do I know that knows him that can make a warm introduction?" Probably a ton of people, because you're so good at what you do, right? You probably know a ton of people. If I have to invest time to vet you, it's never going to happen. I have my assistant and my producer and my producer's assistant to vet people that they're not even supposed to talk to, because it's not a good use of their time. So I know that Tim Ferriss talks about this a lot in his book as well. Him and I both have this in common. We will absolutely never jump on the phone to explore something. It's never going to happen, because it doesn't ever need to happen. Anybody who has something that they want to run by us can do it either in an email or can get a warm introduction and figure out a way to meet us or talk to us that way. It never has to, and this isn't just us. Any influencer that you want to reach, if you make them do any work at all, you just quadrupled your failure potential.
Yeah.
There's a much more significant chance that it will never happen the more work you make them do. So if I can just reply yes, you got a good chance of getting that yes. And again, it has to be something for me. You can't be asking me for something. So if you do that enough, right? If you do that enough, what'll happen is I will eventually remember to realize who you are when you email. And I know so there's people right now that are listening that are like, "This guy's so full of himself, blah, blah, blah." Look, I'm giving you the straight truth on how to reach influencers. I'm much more forgiving and communicative than most influencers. I actually reply to, answer, and look at my email. Most people you're reaching out to, they will never do that.
It's so true. I think, and firstly, when you say it's just everyone is always interested in only themselves. So I think it's just the honesty that you're giving straight up right now, because it's not you, it's everybody else is only looking after their own needs at the end of the day. So I feel like if you can look after, as if someone's coming to you and being like, "Hey, I'd love to be able to help you out. This is how I'm going to do it." It can be nice and easy. You don't need to do a thing. Let me put this on for you. Obviously there's a great exchange of value coming your way, and then hopefully something can come around. But I also feel like, do you feel when someone wants to connect with an influencer, you kind of said before, going rungs up the ladder, you should only really go one step at a time? We're going to take a quick break and we'll be back in a split with so much more for you. Now, I know you're listening and tuning in because you know how important your health is and how this can also catapult your business. This is why I'm very happy to say that this podcast is sponsored by My Body Blends and my favorite the superfood elixir, the powerful greens drink. Now, this is designed specially to boost energy, aids detoxification, enhances the ability to burn fat, supports healthy carbohydrate metabolism, and best of all, is voted best tasting greens drink. Now, myself and the My Body Blends team are looking for ambassadors to join. So you and your clients get the health benefits plus adding in a strong income stream for you and your business. The ambassador program, which is by application only, means you get exclusive access to sell My Body Blends products like Superfood Elixir to your clients, plus giving you the special ambassador pricing and bonuses. So once you become an ambassador, you can join other top health and fitness players that are adding thousands to their week's income. Now, there is only a limited number of ambassadors we are taking on board, as this is a tribe leading the way together. So to apply and to join, go to mybodyblend.com/ambassador or add the checkout code that is TurningPro, all one word, when you're going to get your own superfood elixir to order. Plus, you're going to get free shipping and a bonus to save yourself over $250 instantly. So just use that coupon code TurningPro in the checkout and you can save over $250 right now, all on mybodyblends.com.
Yes, there's a reason for that. And here's the thing. What's a step up the ladder? Who knows?
Yeah.
Right? I think it's pretty clear that
there's not white belt to blue belt to black belt.
Yeah. Like me reaching out to Richard Branson, is that 5 steps, 10 steps, 1 step? I don't know. Me reaching up to Gary Vaynerchuk, that's 1 step. Or is it a lateral move? I don't know. I mean, I have no idea. It sort of depends on context. There's a lot of things that sort of make the difference, right? So I would say don't focus too much on that. But yes, there is such a thing as overshooting. And I know that goes, so that's the problem with me telling this is it goes in direct contradiction to a lot of entrepreneurial advice, which is like, just reach for the stars and maybe you'll hit the moon. No, reach for the stars and you'll be fucking ignored. I don't know if I can use profanity on your show.
It was well used.
And the thing is, it's totally true, because if I'm emailing Richard Branson, hey, you got to see my product, and I'm BCCing Mark Cuban, I'm probably not going to get a reply, because again, I'm doing the exact same thing that other people do to me, to do to other influencers, to ask for investment on their part. And I don't mean financial. I just mean the time it takes to click the link. Not going to happen. I literally, if somebody sends me a YouTube link, not happening. And I know that I'm not alone in this, and that I'm actually much more open and communicative than most people, simply because my job is to teach these skills, teach communication. I get a lot of great ideas from fans and friends. So I'm much more open to that. But if you're reaching up to somebody who's the CEO of a company from outside their company, the chance that anything in your email is going to have any benefit for them whatsoever is pretty much zero, and they know that. So have to make that barrier pretty much zero.
I think that's really good, because kind of thinking about how you and I are talking right now was, I got interviewed on a podcast, and then I got on another podcast did one on me, and then I was luckily with John Lee Dumas on Entrepreneur on Fire. And then I was like, well, who other people can I connect with that I feel like I've got value to give and I know can give value to this audience right now? And that's why I was like, I really feel like Jordan would be a great fit to come on here. I would be able to do anything. And now that's why we're talking. And when you wrote back to me, I was like, holy shit, Jordan wrote back to me. That's absolutely phenomenal. Like, this is going to be really good. And I feel like what people need to be doing is stop being so selfish about what needs to happen for themselves and just looking out to what they can do for others. And it's just going to come back for them.
Exactly. And this isn't some sort of metaphysical woo-woo concept. It's the fact of the matter is, most of us are all self-interested. This is every human. This is not something that's probably new to anybody who's listening. We're all mostly self-interested. We want to know what people can do for us. Now, if we happen to be the outlier that says, look, I'm going to find out how I can do things for other people, well, guess what? That's the skeleton key, right? Because everybody else is so self-interested, even good people. In fact, mostly good people. So we have to be that way. And the truth of the matter is, if you're reaching up the ladder, those people have much more opportunities than you, because they're influencers. It's kind of, in fact, almost part of the definition, right? And so therefore, any opportunity you're offering, you might think it's incredible and unique, but there's a really good chance that somebody like Tim Ferriss has seen that same opportunity from 10 different people that week or that month, or that his assistant has, right? And it's never going to make it through the filter. So you really need to focus on warm introductions and having people make that intro. And when that happens, this all becomes a lot easier. And of course, the way to build those relationships is by reaching up in the right way in the first place. This way, when you do need something, you're no longer reaching up, you're reaching out, and it becomes so much easier. If I need to meet somebody now, the odds of me emailing them cold are just so low. Because I know so many folks that have come through the show and so many folks through the different groups that I'm involved in, etc. There's a near certainty that anybody who I want to connect with is actually going to have a mutual friend. And I'm talking about anyone. I mean, I know people that have been friends with Elon Musk for 2 decades, so I don't really see a limit upwards. I've got friends who half of their Facebook profile is them hanging out with Richard Branson. Like, if I want that connection to be made, I need only reach out through those people. I will never reach out cold. It's never as effective. So it's a bad strategy. So if you're going to start this process and reach out cold because you have to start somewhere, reach up, baby steps, help as many people as you can, and eventually you will never have to worry about reaching out cold again. You won't even think about reaching upwards because it will always be reaching outwards through your own network that you've worked super hard to cultivate.
All right, that's brilliant. I think you've absolutely nailed that, and the listener can really take away with some actual steps to be able to start using this. I just kind of want to throw a head-snapping turn with this chat that we're having, and I think a lot of what you're doing is being able to help people change their self-belief or their self-confidence, or really maybe it's even just the stories that we tell ourselves at the end of the day to be able to kind of put our best foot forward. I feel like a lot of people, and I've got questions with this with coaches that are wanting to kind of like being able to grow their business in other realms or through other streams. How do you help people? And this could be maybe some of the tactical stuff you do with the Art of Charm people. How do you help people actually change the stories that we're telling ourselves to then become, or change the mask that we're using when we kind of go out and interact with people?
Yeah, it's like big question. Really good question, actually, because most people never even think about that. You actually said something that's quite insightful, which is in order to change who you're being with other people, you have to change the stories going on inside your head. And so you're going to have to reel me in if I get a little bit too
let's go for it.
out there with this. But it's funny. I literally just made a video about this like 5 hours ago.
Okay.
But what happens, at least on a variation of that, what we do, our beliefs are influenced by the stories that we have in our head, and our beliefs influence our actions. So stories, beliefs, actions, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, like think, act, get.
Yeah, this is kind of got to be the foundation. People can't let that go in one ear and out the other. Right?
Yeah.
This make no sense. So in order to work on that, it's really tough because you go, oh God, I need to figure out how to change these stories in my head. And that's tough. That involves deprogramming, reprogramming, new habits, etc. But when you think about, okay, reprogramming, deprogramming new habits, what are those? Those are actions. So if we know that your actions are influenced by your beliefs, which of course the whole thing leads to the results, if it all starts with story, then it sort of follows that if actions are what it takes to change the story, that it's a cycle. Okay. So our actions influence our stories / beliefs that influence our results, ... action. So it's a circle. It's not necessarily a line. And this is great because what this means for us is that changing the stories in your head is simply a matter of changing your habits. And I put simply in like big, bold air quotes because simply changing habits is kind of like entire industries are predicated on that. Habit change, quit smoking, lose weight, etc. These are all habit changes. But the good news is what looks to be an impossible uphill battle to change something that no one can ever do, right? Changing who you are. People don't change all this stuff, right? This is actually not true. You can change the belief systems you have in your head by changing the stories, by changing the actions. And so a lot of what we do at boot camps here at the Art of Charm, at our live programs, is deprogram things that people have learned over a period of time. Deprogram things people have learned over years, grew up with, these paradigms. This has to happen, but it happens by instilling new habits, showing people that you can create a positive feedback loop, right? And what that means is, I know that let me just give you an example. I know that if I go out and I talk to a group of people at a cocktail event, that they're going to act a certain way. I quote unquote know this because it's happened my whole life. That's why I'm shy and I dislike these events. Okay. So if we then go, okay, well, let's challenge this. I don't just send somebody to the event and be like, imagine everybody reacting positively to you. That's a bunch of BS, not going to work. Wishful thinking at best, fraudulent charlatan crapola at worst, snake oil. What we're really looking at is, okay, you're shy at events. All right, let's break this down. And we do body language drills, exercises, because we know that people's first impressions are nonverbal, because it's when so for example, your first impression is when other people see you, right? So we know that it's made nonverbally because you can't talk to everybody right when they see you.
Immediately, yes.
Right. So we know that it's made nonverbally. Okay. So let's work on one chief element of nonverbal communication, which is body language. Okay. Well, what do? Every time you walk through a doorway, stand up straight, smile on your face, chin up, chest out, head up, open body language, right? We instill that as a habit every time you walk through a doorway in your own house. What happens next time you leave the house? Every time you walk through a doorway, you're standing up straight, you got a smile on your face, you have open body language. Now, let's fast forward a few days, few weeks, few months, et cetera, till this is a habit you don't even have to think about anymore. Now, when you go to an event, how do people react to you? How do people react to you when you have open body language, you look confident, you've got a smile on your face? They treat you differently, right? And so when they treat you differently, how's your experience at that event? Completely different. So when that experience of that event is fun instead of ridden with social anxiety and it becomes a good time for you, then the next time you need to go do it, your association is these things can be fun. And then, of course, when you go in with that expectation and you've got your nonverbals down now, and you're not thinking about how to make a good impression on people, it's happening at the level of habit. Now the stories start to change themselves. You don't have to sit there and, get hypnotized to change your story. You don't have to go to years of therapy to change the story and, reprogram your brain. That stuff, it's like running up a hill or swimming upstream. It's really, really difficult. Just change the habits a little bit at a time in a very real way. You'll see immediate results, which is great because it keeps you encouraged and keeps you moving forward. And then, of course, over time, the bigger picture will have people treating you differently, which will have you acting differently, which changes the belief system going on in your head. Does that make sense?
That makes absolute perfect sense. And also what I like about this, and you can shoot me down if not, but I kind of see another positive coming off this, kind of like spinning off, is what happens when you naturally stand up taller, have better posture and put a smile on your face. It's your physiology will actually change your psychology and you'll feel better as well. And that will unconsciously come out with the actual interactions that you're having with everybody just because you're feeling better about yourself as well.
Yeah. I mean, what ends up happening is you basically, one of the chief concepts at Art of Charm is the mind follows the body follows the mind. It's a very similar sub-cycle of the stories, beliefs, actions, results chain as well. So when you have that going on, look, you've got an entirely different outlook on life as a result of not just standing up straight changes your life, creating that at the level of habit, not having to think about it anymore, enjoying the results of people treating you differently. That's what's the life changing about it. I don't want to spray paint a veneer of stand up straight and your life will change. That's
No, I think this is okay. We went into it makes absolutely perfect sense, Jordan. I think it was great, and I loved where we took our chat right now. And this was completely off point from where the other questions that I had, but I think we were able to really give some really good insights that I think is going to work. Like, this is for business, for personal, for relationships. Like, this is a nice foundation that I think people really need to work on, and hence why I really wanted to bring you on. What I'm going to do as well and put into the show notes is I'm going to creep out a little bit more through the episodes that you've got on the AOC, put them into the show notes that I think really relate to what you've got. Are you going to be publishing that video you shot just 5 hours ago, Jordan?
Yeah, it'll be up. It'll be up like tomorrow.
Okay, done. They'll put that in there as well to link straight over as well. But I think we've opened up a little bit of a Pandora's box with some really good quality help that can go down. So kudos, Jordan. That was good.
Thanks, man. I appreciate the opportunity, man. Really, I do.
Now, before I let you go, where is the best place for the listener to go and stalk you out?
You know what? You're listening to a podcast right now. Just go check out the Art of Charm podcast. 500 plus hours of free stuff. Check it out. And then, of course, we're at theartofcharm.com where my videos and stuff like that are as well.
Absolutely. Okay, so for the listener, I'm going to make sure that's all in the show notes so you can get straight over to there. Jordan, absolutely really grateful for your time. Thank you for opening up into some really key concepts and giving away some great tactics. I'm looking forward to keeping in touch with you soon, sir.
You got it, man. Thanks so much.
So now it's time for you to click on over to chrisdufay.com. That's chrisdufey.com to get all the guides and show notes. And if you are wanting the workshops where I walk you through how to build your online business, click on over to chrisdufay.com/start here. This is where I can give you the exact training guides and the workshops for exactly where you're at and the answers that you need. Now, every Friday I'm coming back to you with a new episode. So be sure to subscribe, and if you haven't already, you're going to be getting the world's best insights, the advice and the answers to give you the business, the money, the freedom and the success and happiness that you want. And I want to give you a huge muchas gracias for being here with me, and as always, get in touch with me via the site or via social, as Ask the Pro is about me giving you the answers that you need. So ask away.